From a flicker of candlelight in 1789 to the glare of modern screens in the West Wing, every president has held the pen. Executive orders not passed by Congress, but etched into law by command. Some shaped history. Some sparked controversy. Others were forgotten. Until now. This is where we break them down. Every signature, every shift in power, every consequence still felt today. From Washington to Biden, welcome to Executive Order Watch.
Democracy, we live for it. For democracy, we fight for it. For democracy, we've died for it. And for democracy, we watch it. This is Executive Order.
1971 was not a quiet year. It was a time of roaring change, of confrontation, not just abroad, but within. And as President of the United States, I had a duty to steer this nation through the crosswinds of discontent, global realignment, and economic pressure. Let's not sugarcoat it. The American people were weary. Vietnam raged on, inflation was rising, and trust in Washington had frayed. But I believed then and now that leadership isn't about popularity. It's about decisions, hard ones. And I made them, not to please, but to protect the long-term strength of this republic. At home, I faced a deeply divided nation. Protests echoed in our cities. Students clashed with law enforcement. And a new generation challenged the old order. But amidst the noise, we achieved something extraordinary. The 26th Amendment was ratified, lowering the voting age from 21 to 18. I signed it into law because if a young American was old enough to fight and die in Vietnam, then by God, they were old enough to vote. But make no mistake, it was the economy that kept me awake at night. The dollar was under attack. Gold reserves were bleeding. Foreign nations were gaining the upper hand in trade. So I did what no president had done since the Great Depression. I suspended the dollar's convertibility into gold, effectively ending the Bretton Woods system. It was bold, it was controversial, and it reshaped the global financial order, but it was necessary to protect American jobs, American industry, and American sovereignty. I also froze wages and prices, something no conservative takes lightly. But inflation threatened to spiral out of control, and the American worker needed breathing room. Critics called it a gamble. History may call it something else entirely, a pivot point in modern economic policy. Abroad, the winds began to shift. Quietly, deliberately, I began reaching out to the People's Republic of China. After decades of silence, isolation, and Cold War posturing, I knew history demanded a thaw. My administration laid the groundwork in 1971 for the visit that would change the world the following year. Because peace does not come from slogans, it comes from strategy. The Pentagon Papers also exploded that year, a leak that tested the limits of executive power, press freedom, and national security. My administration responded forcefully, because I believed then, as I do now, that while the people have a right to know, the United States cannot function if classified secrets are spilled like ink on newsprint. And then there was the court, Swan versus Charlotte Mecklenburg, a landmark ruling on school desegregation through busing. While I respected the judiciary, I also believed in local control of education. The federal government had to walk a careful line, promoting civil rights without igniting civil unrest. Throughout 1971, I governed with resolve. Some called it authoritarian, others called it necessary. I called it leadership. I didn't seek to be loved. I sought to be effective. And I governed with the belief that history would judge me not by how I bent to the winds of public opinion, but by how I held the line when the storm came. Now, as we move forward, I want to walk you through the executive orders I issued that year, not merely as documents, but as decisions, as instruments of policy, as moments where the pen became mightier than the speech. But before we dive into the orders themselves, understand the context. 1971 was a turning point, economically, diplomatically, culturally, and I governed knowing that every action taken would ripple outward for decades to come. Let's begin. Executive Order 11,576, adjusting rates of pay for certain statutory pay systems on January 8, 1971. Executive Order 11,577, adjusting the rates of monthly basic pay for members of the Uniformed Services on January 8, 1971. Executive Order 11,578, establishment of the Ohio River Basin Commission on January 13, 1971. Executive Order 11,579, Overseas Private Investment Corporation on January 19, 1971. Executive Order 11,580, establishing a seal for the National Credit Union Administration on January 20, 1971. Executive Order 11,581, amending Executive Order Number 11,248, placing certain positions in levels 4 and 5 of the Federal Executive Salary Schedule on January 20th, 1971. Executive Order 11,582, observance of holidays by government agencies on February 11th, 1971. Executive Order 11,583, Office of Consumer Affairs on February 24th, 1971. Executive Order 11,584, inspection of income, excess profits, estate, and gift tax returns by the Senate Committee on Government Operations on March 3, 1971. Executive Order 11,585, creating an emergency board to investigate disputes between certain carriers represented by the National Railway Labor Conference and the Eastern, Western, and Southeastern Carriers Conference Committees and certain of their employees represented by the Brotherhood of Railroad Signalmen on March 4, 1971. Executive Order 11,586, amending the Selective Service Regulations on March 10, 1971. Executive Order 11,587, amending Executive Order Number 11,248, placing certain positions in levels 4 and 5 of the Federal Executive Salary Schedule on March 15, 1971. Executive Order 11,588, providing for the stabilization of wages and prices in the construction industry on March 29, 1971. Executive Order 11,589, delegating to the United States Civil Service Commission certain authorities of the President under the Intergovernmental Personnel Act of 1970 and the Federal Civil Defense Act of 1950 on April 1, 1971. Executive Order 11,590, applicability of Executive Order Number 11,222 and Executive Order 11,478 to the United States Postal Service and of Executive Order Number 11,478 to the Postal Rate Commission on April 23, 1971. Executive Order 11,591, amending Executive Order Num. 11,157, as it relates to basic allowances for quarters for members with dependents on April 23, 1971. Executive Order 11,592, delegating certain authority of the President to the Director of the Office of Management and Budget on May 6, 1971. Executive Order 11,593, protection and enhancement of the cultural environment on May 13, 1971. Executive Order 11,594, providing for the use of transportation priorities and allocations during the current railroad strike on May 17, 1971. Executive Order 11,595, amending Executive Order 11,583, establishing the Office of Consumer Affairs on May 26, 1971. Executive Order 11,596, designating the Customs Cooperation Council as a public international organization entitled to enjoy certain privileges, exemptions, and immunities on June 5, 1971. Executive Order 11,597, amendment to Executive Order No. 11,513, increasing the membership of the President's Commission on School Finance on June 11, 1971. Executive Order 11,598, to provide for the listing of certain job vacancies by federal agencies and government contractors and subcontractors on June 16, 1971. Executive Order 11,599, establishing a Special Action Office for Drug Abuse Prevention on June 17, 1971. Executive Order 11,600, establishing a seal for the Office of Management and Budget on June 29, 1971. Executive Order 11,601, amending Executive Order Number 11,390, providing for the delegation of certain functions of the President to the Secretary of Defense on June 29, 1971. Executive Order 11,602, providing for administration of the Clean Air Act with respect to federal contracts, grants, or loans on June 29, 1971. Executive Order 11,603, assigning additional functions to the Director of Action on June 30, 1971. Executive Order 11,604, amending Executive Order Number 11,248, placing certain positions in levels 4 and 5 of the Federal Executive Salary Schedule on July 2, 1971. Executive Order 11,605, amendment of Executive Order Number 10,450 of April 27, 1953, relating to security requirements for government employment on July 2, 1971. Executive Order 11,606, amending the Selective Service Regulations on July 10, 1971. Executive Order 11,607, establishing the Advisory Council Intergovernmental Personnel Policy on July 19, 1971. Executive Order 11,608, termination of Federal Field Committee for Development Planning in Alaska on July 19, 1971. Executive Order 11,609, delegating certain functions vested in the President to other officers of the government on July 22, 1971. Executive Order 11,610, further amending Executive Order 10,789, authorizing agencies of the government to exercise certain contracting authority in connection with national defense functions and prescribing regulations governing the exercise of such authority on July 22, 1971. Executive Order 11,611, inspection of income, excess profits, estate, and gift tax returns by the Committee on Internal Security, House of Representatives on July 26, 1971. Executive Order 11,612, occupational safety and health programs for federal employees on July 26, 1971. Executive Order 11,613, membership of Environmental Protection Agency on established river basin commissions on August 2, 1971. Executive Order 11,614, establishing the National Business Council for Consumer Affairs on August 5, 1971. Executive Order 11,615, providing for stabilization of prices, rents, wages, and salaries on August 15, 1971. Executive Order 11,616, amending Executive Order Number 11,491, relating to labor management relations in the federal service on August 26, 1971. Executive Order 11,617, amending Executive Order Number 11615, providing for stabilization of prices, rents, wages, and salaries on September 2, 1971. Executive Order 11618, further amending Executive Order Number 10,713, providing for administration of the Ryukyu Islands on September 10, 1971. Executive Order 11,619, exemption of Rose A. Conway from mandatory retirement on September 22, 1971. Executive Order 11,620, the Honorable Hugo L. Black on September 25, 1971. Executive Order 11,621, creating a board of inquiry to report on certain labor disputes affecting the maritime industry of the United States on October 4, 1971. Executive Order 11,622, amending Executive Order 11,621, creating a board of inquiry on October 5, 1971. Executive Order 11,623, delegating to the Director of Selective Service Authority to issue rules and regulations under the Military Selective Service Act on October 12, 1971. Executive Order 11,624, inspection of income, excess profits, estate, gift, and excise tax returns by the Senate Committee on Commerce on October 12, 1971. Executive Order 11,625, prescribing additional arrangements for developing and coordinating a national program for minority business enterprise on October 13, 1971. Executive Order 11,626, the Honorable Dean Acheson on October 13, 1971. Executive Order 11,627, further providing for the stabilization of the economy on October 15, 1971. Executive Order 11,628, establishing a seal for the Environmental Protection Agency on October 18, 1971. Executive Order 11,629, delegation of authority to the Secretary of State to perform the function vested in the President by Article 4 of the Convention between the United States of America and Mexico for the protection of migratory birds and game mammals on October 26, 1971. Executive Order 11,630, amending Executive Order number 11,627 of October 15, 1971, further providing for the stabilization of the economy on October 30, 1971. Executive Order 11,631, inspection of income, estate, and gift tax returns by the Committee on Public Works, House of Representatives on November 9, 1971. Executive Order 11,632, amending Executive Order number 11,627 of October 15, 1971, further providing for the stabilization of the economy on November 22, 1971. Executive Order 11,633, Security Clearance Program for United States citizens employed directly by the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, the Southeast Asia Treaty Organization, and the Central Treaty Organization on December 3, 1971. Executive Order 11,634, amending Executive Order number 11,248. Placing certain positions in levels 4 and 5 of the federal executive salary schedule on December 6, 1971. Executive Order 11,635, continuation of Souris Red Rainy River Basins Commission on December 9, 1971. Executive Order 11,636, employee management relations in the Foreign Service of the United States on December 17, 1971. Executive Order 11,637, adjusting rates of pay for certain statutory pay systems on December 22, 1971. Executive Order 11,638, adjusting the rates of monthly basic pay for members of the uniformed services on December 22, 1971.
Lean's Pizza, where we deliver happiness one slice at a time. What's your craving today?
Yeah, hi. Is Seymour there?
Oh, Seymour. I think he might be busy making our special pies. But hey, why not swing by the pizzeria? We've got a pie with your name on it. Anything else I can help you with?
I was looking for Seymour Butts.
Ah, I see. Well, if you're looking for Seymour Butts, he might be hiding behind a pepperoni slice. Anything else I can do for you today?
No, that's it.
Hi, I'm Terrence, a marketing professional with a passion for helping your business grow smarter and faster. Here at Da Bomb Digital Media, based right here in Atlanta, Georgia, we specialize in bringing your vision to life. Whether you're launching your first website or reimagining your entire digital presence, we've got you covered. From modern website design and search engine optimization to setting up your own AI-powered agency tools, we deliver innovative solutions that keep you ahead of the curve. Ready to unlock your business's full potential? Let's build something remarkable together. For more information, visit our YouTube channel. Just search Da Bomb Digital Media on YouTube and start exploring tips, success stories, and everything you need to elevate your
1971.
brand.
A year the Earth itself seemed to tilt, just a little, so it's off its old axis. If 1970 was the prelude to unrest, 1971 was the unraveling and the rewriting of post-war norms. President Richard Nixon sat at the helm during a time of volatility, and he governed like a man surrounded by storms, political, economic, and cultural. He issued 63 executive orders that year, touching nearly every corner of American life, from economic controls and labor relations to the global dollar standard and civil service operations. I want to walk you through how those orders shaped that moment in time, and how they still echo today. But before we dive into each, let's talk about what was happening around those strokes of the pen, world events that shaped 1971. In August, Nixon made the bold and seismic decision to end the convertibility of the dollar into gold, effectively dismantling the Bretton Woods system. The global economy shifted overnight. Inflation surged. Currencies began to float freely. The US dollar would never be the same, and neither would global trade. Across the globe, India and Pakistan plunged into war in December. Millions of Bengali refugees flooded into India, and the world witnessed the bloody birth of Bangladesh. America's position? Complex. Nixon and Kissinger aligned with Pakistan. a move that still sparks debate among historians. And in China, a diplomatic thaw quietly began. Nixon's preparations in 1971, through secret visits and back channels, paved the way for his historic 1972 visit. The Cold War chessboard was shifting, and Nixon was already maneuvering. Major events that affected America directly. The war on drugs began to take shape. In June, Nixon established the Special Action Office for Drug Abuse Prevention through Executive Order 11,599. It marked the institutional birth of what would become a national doctrine, a doctrine whose consequences we're still confronting today. The economy was on fire. In August, Nixon signed EO 11615, freezing wages and prices. It was a stunning move, a Republican president intervening in the free market with the heaviest hand possible. That one order led to a cascade of amendments and replacements over the next year on the playbook of economic control during crisis. The Postal Service had just become an independent agency. Nixon had to define its ethics and conduct in a modernized world. That came in EO 11590, realigning executive ethics and equal employment mandates to this new institution. And quietly but significantly, Nixon authorized the Environmental Protection Agency to adopt a seal under Executive Order 11628, as environmental awareness continued to grow following the first Earth Day. How Nixon governed in 1971. Nixon's use of executive orders in 1971 reveals a president who didn't just react to crises, he centralized control around them. He didn't hesitate to invoke federal authority to stabilize the economy, discipline labor, structure agencies, and steer international policy. But behind those moves was a deeper trend. Nixon was shifting the power balance toward the executive office, molding the presidency into a more autonomous force in national governance. That same trend of executive expansion has become a defining issue of our time. Top 10 Nixon executive orders of 1971 and their legacy. 1. Executive Order 11,615, providing for stabilization of prices, rents, wages, and salaries, signed on August 15, 1971. EO 11615 was the boldest domestic economic intervention by a president since FDR Nixon imposed a 90-day freeze on prices, wages, and rents to counteract surging inflation, combat a growing trade deficit, and protect the U.S. dollar after it was decoupled from gold. The order shocked Wall Street and Main Street alike. For a conservative president to institute such sweeping price controls was virtually unprecedented. While the freeze temporarily slowed inflation, it also disrupted markets, complicated wage negotiations, and created bureaucratic bottlenecks in enforcement. Long-term, it led to pent-up inflationary pressure, and when controls were lifted, prices surged. Still, EO 11615 marked a turning point in American economic history. The end of Bretton Woods, the birth of fiat dollar supremacy, and the normalization of presidential involvement in economic micromanagement. 2. Executive Order 11,627, further providing for the stabilization of the economy. This order, issued just 2 months after Executive Order 11,615, didn't just extend Nixon's economic controls, it expanded and institutionalized them. EO 11,627 created new structures such as the Pay Board and the Price Commission, formalizing wage and price review mechanisms. It empowered federal agencies to enforce and adjust ceilings, handle exemptions, and issue compliance directives. It was Nixon's full dive into managed capitalism, a system where the executive branch set the tempo for the private sector. Though it eventually met resistance from business groups and economists alike, it demonstrated how the presidency had evolved into the nucleus of real-time economic decision-making. EO 11,627 also became a template for future emergency economic tools, such as those invoked during the 1979 oil crisis and even the 2008 financial meltdown. Moondram. Executive Order 11,599, establishing a Special Action Office for Drug Abuse Prevention, issued in June 1971, EO 11,599 launched what would become one of the most controversial and enduring federal campaigns, the war on drugs. Nixon framed drug abuse as a national emergency, not merely a health issue, and placed prevention and enforcement under executive control. The Special Action Office coordinated federal programs, increased funding for treatment, and expanded surveillance and law enforcement authority. While well-intentioned in parts, the order also marked the beginning of punitive carceral approaches to addiction, particularly in Black and brown communities. It laid the bureaucratic groundwork for later developments, including the DEA's formation in 1973. Critics argue that EO 11599 institutionalized a system that criminalized poverty and public health problems, but supporters viewed it as necessary to maintain order in a turbulent era. The policy and political legacy of this order remains unresolved. 4. Executive Order 11625, developing a national program for minority business. Enterprise EO 11625 was a direct expansion of Lyndon Johnson's EO 11458 and signaled Nixon's intent to give substance to the idea of black capitalism, which he had promoted during his campaign. The order tasked the Department of Commerce with improving access to capital, federal contracts, and technical assistance for minority-owned businesses. It was a rare executive order that enjoyed bipartisan support over time, forming the foundation of the Minority Business Development Agency, MBDA. It also represented a significant shift in federal procurement priorities and encouraged greater economic participation from communities historically excluded from wealth building. EO 11625 remains a milestone in affirmative economic programming and continues to influence federal contracting and grant-making to this day. ஐந்தாவது. Executive Order 11593, Protection and Enhancement of the Cultural Environment, issued in May 1971, EO 11593 required federal agencies to inventory and protect historical and cultural sites before initiating construction or development. It brought cultural heritage into the policy framework of environmental impact. This order was a forerunner to more comprehensive preservation laws and linked federal power with the stewardship of national identity. By making preservation a government responsibility rather than a private or academic affair, Nixon elevated America's architectural and archaeological heritage to a matter of public policy. Today, the order's principles live on in the National Historic Preservation Act and federal environmental assessments that include cultural impact reviews. 6. Executive Order 11612, Occupational Safety and Health Programs for Federal Employees. This order extended newly enacted OSHA protections into the federal workforce. Nixon's EO ensured that government employees would not be exempt from safety standards applied to private industry. It compelled agencies to create internal safety programs, report workplace injuries, and comply with broader federal labor health protocols. The symbolism was critical. If the federal government demanded safety in the private sector, it had to set the example. EO 11612 helped solidify a culture of accountability in federal workplaces and prefigured the later development of detailed employee wellness and ergonomic standards in civil service policy. It helped OSHA evolve from concept to nationwide institution. 7. Executive Order 11598, requiring federal job vacancy listings. This executive order mandated that all federal agencies, contractors, and subcontractors publicly list job vacancies with state employment services. It aimed to increase transparency, reduce patronage, and make federally funded jobs accessible to a broader labor pool. This order leveled the playing field at a time when veterans, minorities, and working-class Americans were struggling to find employment. It signaled a new federal commitment to employment equity, shaped the future of job boards like USA Jobs, and even influenced private hiring norms by popularizing transparent listing practices. 8. Executive Order 11583, creating the Office of Consumer Affairs. EO 11583 marked a major leap for consumer protection. The office it created was charged with representing consumer interests within federal policymaking, everything from product labeling and advertising standards to credit disclosures and refund rights. This order institutionalized the idea that the average American consumer deserved advocacy at the highest levels. It also responded to growing public demand for oversight in an increasingly complex marketplace. Over time, it contributed to the establishment of modern consumer rights laws and federal watchdog entities. Although the original office has since been reorganized, its vision persists in agencies like the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, CFPB. 9. Executive Order 11,628, establishing the seal of the Environmental Protection Agency. While seemingly symbolic, this order was key to branding and formalizing the newly created EPA, which had come into existence just the previous year. By granting the agency its official seal, Nixon legitimized its place in the federal hierarchy. EO 11,628 marked a subtle but powerful milestone, affirming that environmental protection was not just a legislative afterthought, but a permanent fixture of federal governance. Today, the EPA's authority in enforcing the Clean Air Act, Clean Water Act, and various climate-related regulations can trace administrative legitimacy back to orders like this one. 10th Executive Order 11,609, delegating presidential functions to government officers. This executive order was a quiet but profound restructuring of internal federal power. It delegated a broad array of presidential responsibilities to department heads, cutting through red tape and allowing quicker executive action without constant top-level approval. EO 11,609 helped streamline defense, economic, and regulatory operations, and shaped how presidents utilize staff and agency secretaries to execute national policy. In the post-9/11 and COVID-19 era, this approach to flexible delegation remains central to executive strategy. It reinforced the idea of a presidency not just of a man, but of an apparatus. The present-day echo. Today we live in the wake of Nixon's 1971 pen strokes. Executive power has grown, centralized authority has become the norm, and economic policy by fiat is no longer taboo. From the Federal Reserve's emergency powers to the president's role in regulating public health, Nixon's playbook is still in use and under review. Nixon's 1971 orders reveal a paradox, a president embattled by protest and distrust, yet confident enough to reshape the structure of American governance. And whether we like it or not, much of how we govern today still flows from the corridors Nixon carved. We'll now look deeper into the full list of those executive orders, not just what they did, but what they mean for us now. Because history isn't just written, it's lived, and it's often relived. Let's begin.
Some write history with blood, some with laws, but the sharpest stroke comes from the pen. Executive power ain't just a tool, it's a weapon wielded by the few, affecting the many. They sign it, we live it. They order it, we obey it. Here, watching, digging, remembering. From the plantation to the proclamation, from internment camps to civil rights stands, from surveillance laws to student loan draws. Order can change your life, and you might not even know it, but now you do. So stay locked in, stay woke, stay sharp. We ain't just talking about power, we tracking it. Executive Order Watch, and we ain't blinking.